Welcome to the SelfActualize Podcast, where we explore the journeys, insights, and breakthroughs that lead to personal growth and success. I'm your host, Anmol, and a few weeks ago, I had the pleasure of interviewing my good friend and executive sales coach, Bonnie Petrich. Bonnie is the best sales coach I've ever seen, and she's got an impressive track record of helping sales executives and managers become more efficient and powerful salespeople. So today I'm back with Bonnie, and we're going to do a role play. So I'm going to play the role of a new rep that's trying to get a handle on a new product, new territory, and new set of accounts while trying to figure out how to exceed an ambitious sales quota. So watch how Bonnie coaches me to build a solid multi-year plan, build pipeline, qualify my deals and accounts, and prioritize my time. Okay, so let's jump in.
So thank you for joining me today. My biggest question to you first is, how can I help you?
Yeah, so Bonnie, look, I need your help, okay? So I just started working as a sales rep. My manager just gave me this territory. I got this big number, okay, it's achievable, right? My goal is to be at 110% of my number by the end of the fiscal year. So it's definitely a stretch goal, but I think I can get there, but I don't know how to get there. Okay, I need your help. I just started, just got this territory. I still got to learn the product. I don't have the relationships and the accounts, and I want to be at 110% of my goal. So I need coaching.
Sounds good. So let's start first with, why do you think it's a big number?
Well, I mean, this specific territory, so my number is 25 million for the year, okay, right? And then last year, the previous rep only did 15 million. So my number is 25 million. So I got to grow that. That's a significant amount of growth, especially in this, in this environment that we're in today. There's not a lot of renewals. There's not a lot of deals on the table. I have to go create these deals, but there's not going to be a lot of like refresh or renewals business. And I can't be at 25 million. I want to be at 110%. I want to overachieve because I've always overachieved. So whatever that is, that's 30 million, 32 million I got to hit. And the run rate's 15 million in the previous rep. So, it's going to be a big goal. It's going to be a big stretch goal.
Okay. So we're looking at our SMART. Every goal needs to be SMART, specific. So you've done a really good job being specific at shooting for, you wanted to be at 110%, which is 32 million. You have your metrics, which is the M. And we're going to reinforce confidence that this is going to be achievable. And it seems to be relevant to your world right now. So the time bound is, my question to you is, where are you in your sales cycle? Are you at the beginning, middle, or end?
So you mentioned, so I got my goal, which is the 110%. You mentioned, is it a SMART goal? What do you mean by that?
So that's a good question. Is that every goal that you want to achieve, I like to call it, we run it through the SMART test. SMART.
Okay, so it's an acronym.
Yes. And the S stands for specific. Is your goal specific enough? Because you don't want to have it, I just want to make my quota. That's too broad. Okay. And then you need to have a metric, which is a specific number that you can measure your goal by. Then the A is it really achievable? You don't want to say, I want to win the lottery. The chances of that, is that no, you get it. Right. And so then the next one is the R. Is it relevant to your world right now? And it seems to be that you've gotten this position, you like to be a salesperson, and you want to achieve. So that seems to be that you've hit the mark there. And then the last one is time bound. When do you want this goal to end? Because if you don't have an ending of a goal, it can go on forever, and we don't want that. So when is the end of your year for your quota?
Yeah. Okay. Good question. So I have time. I'm not at the very beginning of the year, but we're basically in Q1. So our fiscal year started in August, right? So we're kind of at the end of Q1. So I have time in order to hit this, I think.
So what do you have? 9 months? Would you say?
9 months. Exactly.
All right. So let's focus on these 9 months. And do you know how long, on average, it takes to close a deal?
Yeah, so I think historically the deal cycle with the previous rep in this territory, and historically it has been around 3 months.
So basically we've got to have over $32 million worth of opportunity in the next 6 months. Probably Do you know your close rate?
Yeah, so again, I'm new to the company, but I think the close rate is around 25%. So you would need and usually managers and leadership, they want 4x pipe to quota coverage. So 4x. So I would need, and my math is not the best, 32 times 4. So I need 128 million of pipe in order to theoretically close 32 million.
Correct. And where are you now sitting realistically with your pipeline? Where does it sit today?
Yeah, so I inherited a pretty decent pipeline from the previous rep. So I have about 40 million of pipe of deals that I'm working on. Obviously, that's not it. I need 40 million in order to get to a 32 million number. I need that 128 million of pipe. So I need to generate a fair amount of pipe. So there's a big delta there. So yeah, 128 minus 40, right?
So how do you feel you could get that 88 million? How confident do you feel in achieving that pipeline?
I mean, I don't know. I got this existing patch. I mean, some of it's going to come from existing business. So there's going to be renewals or there's going to be upsell into the existing accounts. And then the rest of it has to come from net new. And I have my territory, so it's not like I can go and get brand new customers. I got my list of 15 accounts. So it's going to have to come from those 15 accounts. So I guess I have to break down how much is going to come from existing customers and how much is going to come net new.
Yeah. So have you ever taken those 15 accounts and put them in 3 categories? Your A's, your B's, and your C's?
No. Like A player, B player?
Yeah, kind of. But let's look at it this way. A's are your best chance of closing this year, realistically. Your B's are, they could, with a little bit of luck, I could push them maybe to an A. And the C's are the ones that may be for next year, that could be the potential A's for next year. Because what you want to do then is once you've got it broken down into A, B's, and C's, is then you look at your A's, and then you want to prioritize your A's. But here's the thing, you don't want to spend all your time in A's. Why do you think that's not a good idea?
Because it's probably not going to be enough to hit my quota. Because if I haven't done the analysis yet, but if I have 15 accounts, maybe only 4 or 5 are A's, or maybe even less, that's not going to generate the 128 million that I need, 128 million of pipe that I need to hit the 32 million, I'm guessing.
Okay. What if you are in your 15 accounts, one of the C's, and you haven't been, and I'm the customer of one of your C's, I haven't been contacted by you and your company for 2 years. Right. And then all of a sudden next year you contact me because my leases are renewals up. How do you think that makes me feel?
Right. I got to keep touch points with those customers because even if they're not going to buy this year, it's going to set me up for next year because I'm going to be in this patch for the next 3, 4, 5 years or longer if it's going well. So I think what you're saying is I got to A, B, and C, but I can't forget about the B's and C's because the B's and C's may yield fruit next year, the year after, the year after that.
Is correct. And that is one of the failures that a lot of salespeople have, is that they just focus only on the deals that they can get right now, and then they neglect those B's and C's. And those B's and C's, they're being called upon by your competitor.
Yeah, so you're saying show up no matter what. You don't want to just show up when there's a deal or show up when times are good. Show up all the time.
Yeah, and you don't, and just checking in with them can pay off dividends. So maybe in your calendar in Outlook, you can place in call so-and-so, email, call, maybe call 1 week and email just so they know that you are not forgetting about them because they're human.
Keep those accounts warm.
Yep, yep.
So the A, B, and C, would that be by account or would that be by deal?
What do you think would be better?
Interesting question. Well, we forecast deals anyway, right? Because you have deals that are strong up, upside, pipeline deals. So I guess that classification takes care of the deals. I guess it would be more accounts. It would be classify the accounts based on their buying window, if those accounts have the pain point that my problem is solving for, and then what kind of relationship we have with the key stakeholders, the key ICPs and personas in those accounts. And again, the buying window. If there's a particular account that checks the box in all those areas, that would be an A. If there's an account that checks those boxes, but maybe the buying window isn't quite there, that could be a B. And maybe if all of those things are missing, that's a C. That's an account that's going to take 2 or 3 years to grow or mature. So maybe that's kind of what I'm thinking.
I think that's a good idea.
That helps.
Also, have this written down somewhere. If you have a whiteboard is always good. I'm always a fan of having this information in front of you all the time, because out of sight, out of mind, especially the B's and C's. That's why I always recommend people put it on their calendar, because we do forget that. We get so busy focusing on A's and I need to call this and this and this. So for each A that you've prioritized, then you would dig deeper. Is that deal qualified? Why would they? You're exactly right with the pain. Do you have the contact? Do you know the buying criteria, the buying decision? And but again, why would your customer need your product or solution now versus waiting till next year?
Exactly.
And if you can't answer that, then you're going to have a hard time selling. So
maybe I can make a list of these things, like this criteria: buying window, what type of relationship we have with the personas, do we identify with, do they have the pain points that our problem, that our solution solves for them? But do you have a good checklist, or do you have a good, you mentioned the acronym SMART, do you have another acronym that I could use so that I can scorecard these accounts against that acronym?
Yes, I do. Well, I don't, but it's out there. It is called MEDDICC. So it's MEDDICC, and we're going to do double C, CC, MEDDICC.
Okay, I've heard of MEDDICC. I mean, I've used BANT in the past in order to qualify.
And what is BANT?
BANT is similar. BANT, it's an acronym. It's B stands for budget. Does the customer have budget? A stands for authority. Are you talking to the person who's the decision maker, who can make the technical decision or the buying decision? N is for need. So I guess it's the pain point. Do they have a need for the solution? And then T is the timeline, right? Are they in the right buying window? So we've used BANT in the past, but BANT kind of helps me qualify the deal. Is the deal worth working on right now? Yes or no? Like, is the deal qualified or no? Which is helpful, but it's not necessarily something that I can use to track the whole life cycle of the deal or life cycle of the account. It kind of helps with a go, no-go decision early on. I guess is MEDDICC better, you think, than BANT?
Well, first of all, congratulations on having something. A lot of people don't have anything. And they rely on their boss to tell them, or their coworkers to tell them, right. So that's great that you're using something. MEDDICC is just another way to attach to a sales process and to help really laser and focus in on all the critical, important elements to making sure your deal is qualified, and to help you close and work on deals that are only qualified. So the M for MEDDICC is metrics. And these are the metrics that you use for ROI, to get the customer to say, what are the consequences financially, operationally, whatever, that will happen if you don't do my solution, do not change. So you need some type of metrics. You can't just say it's going to save you money, make you money. That's too generic. You need specific metrics. Stories are great with metrics, where you've given examples of specific metrics where you've done this before with another customer. Like,
okay, Mr. Customer, you have this specific pain point, and then we actually just helped. And let's say I'm talking to a financial customer. We're helping this other financial customer. They bought our solution, and they were able to achieve 22% cost savings over the first 1.5 years, like something like that. We could achieve something similar for you.
Yep. Because put yourself in the position of your buyer, because they have to sell it to their internal resources, and that would help them to sell it internally.
Okay, yeah, so BANT doesn't have that, right? There's no metrics.
Okay, so you want to have specific metrics. The next is the E, which is the economic buyer. And that is the person who is going to be financially responsible for the success of the project. Okay. So, and sometimes they hide, sometimes they can be forward. So you need to find out who is going to own this solution. and be the economic buyer of it.
We're selling a very technical solution. So usually we're talking to either the CIO or the CTO or the VP of engineering. That's the person that's going to decide, yeah, we need this, it solves my pain point. That's the person that's going to be, I guess, our champion or coach or confidant in the account. Is that that's not the...
No, that's going to be the economic buyer is going to be the person who is financially responsible. So that is, I'm putting it on my budget. I'm the economic buyer.
Okay, like procurement.
Yeah, it could be. They could be an economic buyer because that gets you to the next 2 Ds, which is the decision criteria and the decision buying process. So the criteria is what makes this company buy? Do they buy because it has to be a certain ROI? They buy because they buy things because it actually helps them meet their goal and objectives for the years. They buy to overcome a situation that they're in. What is the criteria that gets them to buy? And a great question is to find out something that of similar value that they just recently purchased. It could be in the last couple of years, and ask the person you're dealing with, hey, can I ask you, why did you make that decision? What were the trigger points that made that decision? And then listen, because you want to make sure you meet those same trigger points, because it's going to be very similar.
Interesting. So that's decision criteria, you're saying.
And then the decision buying process is that's where you would bring in the procurement, lawyers. What is it? Because normally today, I would say there are about 11 to 13, that's what Gartner says, of how many people are involved in the buying decision. And most of those people aren't very technical. But you need to know who all of these people are, because when you're delivering a message to somebody who has to deliver, here's why you want to buy the solution, it needs to be, here's our world without this solution, and here's our world with the solution. And so that everybody on that buying decision knows, oh, this is going to be beneficial for my people.
Okay. So when you talk about the buying process or the decision process, what do you mean specifically? Do you mean, okay, they're going to want us to come in and do a POC, and then the POC goes well, then yeah, they're going to buy? Is that the buying process?
Well, every company is different. So you need to ask those questions, is to ask them. And again, a lot of times you might say, in bringing it up to the person that you're dealing with, is saying, hey, listen, the last time you purchased something of $2 million or whatever it is, dollar-wise or solution-wise, can you take me through the buying process? The buying process. Did you have to have the contracts looked over by legal? Because we're already looking at an existing customer, do we need them anymore? So it might be different.
So you're looking at the end to end. You're looking at, okay, even going beyond getting the technical win, now it goes to procurement. What do they require, an MSA? Do they require an NDA? How long do those paper process things go, or how long do they last? Who are the people that need to sign off? Does it usually take 4 months to complete the security review, like stuff like that? It looks like that's what you're talking about. Have that mapped out.
Yeah, because and let me ask you, why is that information important to you?
Well, so forecasting, because if those things take 3 months with this specific customer, after I've gotten the technical win, then I no longer have a 3-month sales cycle. Now I have like a 7-month sales cycle. And maybe that's going to be different per account. So I got to have that stuff mapped out. But how do I find that out? I usually don't even talk to procurement. I work with the VP of engineering or the CTO or the people on that person's team. I usually don't talk to procurement. So how would I know this? How would I figure this out?
Okay. So again, whoever you're dealing with, we'll kind of jump forward to the C as a champion. But if the person that you're dealing with really wants your solution and is willing to go to bat and risk their reputation, and then they are what we call a champion. That's fantastic. That's what you need. And you would need to say to your champion, listen, champion, I don't know the inner workings of your company, but in order for us to get this sooner installed than later installed, because that's what's in it for them, they want it ASAP, to speed this up, who do we need to talk to? And if they say to you, I don't know, what do you think you would do if they said to you, I don't know? How would you handle that question?
they're probably not a champion.
Or what else?
Like if they don't know maybe they're not really helping me, maybe they're helping my competitor and they're coaching the competitor. Or if they don't know, they've never done this before, then again, maybe they're not a real champion. Maybe they're more of like a coach or like a friend in the account.
Well, or what if you become the coach? And it's great that this individual is trying to do everything to get your solution. We love that enthusiasm. You can't buy that. It's so fantastic when you have someone who really wants your solution. You need to coach them and say, listen, other companies have these individuals that are involved. Can we talk? Because they are the internal person. So they may say, oh, you know what? I can maybe set an appointment together. We can talk to Sue in procurement and we can ask her. Together, the two of you go in. So you can coach and guide them and say, hey, listen, many companies have lawyers, procurement. They have to go through this type of process. So who in your organization do you know who has done a recent large purchase? Let's tap into their knowledge together. Or do you know somebody in procurement that we can call and make an appointment? And together, I can ask them questions. So you come in as a team, and what you're going to find is you are going to be the coach to help them get your solution across the finish line.
So hopefully they know this stuff because they've worked many deals before and they could coach me. But even if they don't know, I could start asking these questions that can coach them and that could help them out too. It forces them to go understand and talk to legal or talk to the security team or build relationships with the economic buyer, people who own the budget for these things, and then that makes them stronger, that makes them smarter and more influential within the organization.
Yep, you got it. Okay. Because your job, as I always like to say, my job is to make you look good and to help you. Your job is to help them look good. Because a champion, again, is someone who is willing to risk their reputation, who says, I'm going to do everything I can to fight for your solution. Right. Yeah. So that's what a champion. A coach is somebody that gives you information. But when the door is closed, when they ask, they won't stand up and say, I want your solution. They'll be very quiet. So there's a difference there. A coach is somebody who gives you information and helps you. A champion is somebody who literally champions your solution across the finish line. Right. Got it. Okay. So we've done the M, which is the metrics. We've done the E, which is the economic buyer, that person who's financially responsible for the. Then we've done the 2 Ds, the decision criteria and the decision process. And then we're going to do the I, which I think is the most important, is identifying the pain. If there is no pain, then there's no reason for this customer to change. So I would make sure one of the things you might want to do is prioritize by the pain.
How do I identify pain? So the pain is the problem, the migraine level headache that the customer has, right? That must be solved, and it's only going to be solved by my solution. Or I'm going to show them how my solution is going to solve that pain, that migraine level headache.
That is correct. If you think about it, Daniel Kahneman, a Nobel economist,
thinking fast and slow,
is someone who said,
I haven't read it.
Anyway, he is someone who said that individuals are twice as much to move away from bad news fear than they are to run to good news. And so what does that mean to you is, if most salespeople love to sell the benefits of their products, and that's all they talk about. Here, if you have my product, here's how wonderful it'll be, here's all that. And most humans, that's nice to have. But if you spend your time communicating to them that, what they had before was great, but here are the consequences if they kept on the same path, same solution, and make them feel very uncomfortable, which is hard because a lot of salespeople don't like to make the person at the other end of the table uncomfortable. Right. But if you're not uncomfortable, you will not change.
So that's a great point. So this is all about, instead of saying you'll achieve such and such by going with my solution, it would be better to say, if you stay as you are today, or if you don't go with the solution, here's the downside. Right. so like lead with fear almost rather than the benefit.
Well, I think what you want to do is to lead with their world. Here's their world today. Here's what you're doing today. Here's what's impacting your world. It could be competitors, it could be a variety of things. And that also reinforces that your knowledge of the customer. So they go, okay, he knows our world. The next thing is you don't want to call that famous thing, you don't want to call their baby ugly. You want to say, hey, listen, you, at that time, you did a great investment. You thought at that time it was perfect. You installed blank or you used this. But today, here are the consequences of keeping on that same path. Right. And make them feel very uncomfortable. And then, as Kahneman said, you get the best value of a bang for your buck when you say the negative, but then you tell them, what if you could, or imagine if you could, and then you tell them how, not the name of your product, not the features of your products, but what their world would look like with your product installed. Right. And then they go, hey, you know what? I never thought about that. And then you can get into more details.
So in order to do this, I really need to do my homework, because I have to understand their business. I have to understand the pain points and the issues that they're facing with. Then I need to figure out how to tie that to the value prop of my solution. And then I also have to understand where we've done it before so I can show the relevant use cases and paint the right customer success stories that are going to resonate with them. And then I'm going to have to do that well enough to build a champion. And then hopefully the champion introduces me to other stakeholders like the economic buyer, and I'm going to have to do it with them and really talk in terms of business terms, reducing risk, being able to increase revenues or reduce costs, showing them how this could help increase their market share, beat their competitors. And also, if they don't do it, they may be okay now, but what are the consequences down the road? Right, so I need to build that complete picture. So that's going to take a lot of work and a lot of research. So it looks like I got my work cut out for me.
Well, yeah. Well, what happened, let me ask you this. If you didn't do that and you just came in and talked about the features and benefits of your solution?
Yeah, so I mean, that's where you get them excited about something. They want to see a quote, they'll do a POC, and everything is good, but then you put the deal in commit, and then the deal just kind of stalls, right? It pushes into the next quarter, then it pushes into the next quarter after that, and then slowly the deal kind of dies a slow death, right? That happens all the time. So I think that's because, and that's happened to me a lot in the past, but I think it's because I haven't done a good job of really identifying the pain and painting that picture. You come in, do a good presentation, you kind of push them to do a POC, you do a POC, the POC sometimes stalls out, sometimes complete, but then there's no deal at the end of the day.
Because there's no pain to solve. Right. And every time you talk to the customer, you've got to remind them of the pain, because it is hard to change. It is hard to buy. There's a lot of processes and going through it. So it's got to be worth it on your customer's end, especially your champion's end, to fight for your solution. And if the more pain, the better the gain.
And if there's no pain, then maybe that's not the right account. Maybe that's a B account and a C account.
Right. And there might be pain coming up next year. It might map to their goals or objectives of next year. Or, if they have something that's only good for 3 years and they just bought it new, would that be a target? No, it'd be hard to replace something that they just bought. So those are all things that you need to consider when you're prioritizing your A accounts.
Okay, so this all makes sense. I think this will really help me prioritize the accounts and prioritize the deals. And then once I have the deals, I can use MEDDICC and I can use these frameworks to kind of advance the deal through the different stages of the sales process to hopefully deal one close at the end of the day. So that's all great. But in order for me to hit my number, going back to the beginning, I need 128 million of top line pipe, assuming 25% of this stuff is going to close. So I need more at bats. I need to generate pipe. So I have a great framework now, thanks to your help, for working the deals that I already have, and I have some good deals in the pipe. But how do I create more pipe? I mean, I just need more at bats.
That's right. So you can't get more. You told me you cannot get more than 15 accounts.
Can't get more accounts.
So you take your A accounts and maybe you only have one area of the company where you've impacted. Take a step back and think about what other parts of the organization could use your solution. Okay. And then use your champion or the person that you deal with, just set up a meeting with you.
That's a good point, because even in my A accounts, I'm in one business unit. All of these accounts, they have many business units, because these are all Fortune 100 companies.
You just scratched the surface, so you're at the top of the pyramid there, and you got a whole bottom of the pyramid you can hit, So that a lot of people, they just stay because they go, and then it becomes a recurring, and you become a transactional salesperson. But the ones that are very successful and really ingrain themselves into an account and become truly consultant of that account are all over it. Yeah. So that everyone knows, I've dealt with you, and everybody knows who you are and the value that you bring. And the best way to do that for internally, it's really hard if you call that, you get an org chart and you try to call cold. Yeah. If you've got so you need your person that you're dealing with to make the intro.
And they're already happy. They already like the company, like the product. There's going back to MEDDICC, they're already understanding and getting value from the metrics, already have some of those proof points in that account. So I just got to go ask my customer, my stakeholder, my champion for an intro into their peer and the other business units. And then kind of spread from there. I feel like a lot of people are scared to do that, though. I was definitely scared to do that for some reason before, but.
So let me give you a great question to ask your person. It's very simple. You and I have worked together. You've been very happy with what I've done. So can I ask you, who else in your organization could benefit from my support and my solution? And just be quiet. And when they give you a name, I want you to go very quietly on who else. Because too many times people stop after somebody's given them just one name, and they could give you 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 names. If you just get anybody else come to mind? Well, who else department? Because the longer they think about it, the more ideas they come out with, and that will help you.
Yeah, and then just ask for the warm intro, right?
Could you internally send an email so that say, I'd like to introduce you to your name, and give them some idea that they'll be calling so that they know it, or you'll be emailing them a meeting or something like that, so they know it's not spam, that's not a salesperson. Because the success, you got a 95% success ratio when you come in with a referral. Right. Especially one that is happy.
Yeah, that's a great point. And then in some of these C accounts where I don't necessarily have the relationship, like I have ICPs or personas on a spreadsheet with their contact info, but I would just be cold calling them in. They're probably not going to take my call, which I'm happy to do, but there's partners in those accounts that have the relationship. And those same partners are trying to get into my A accounts where they don't have the relationship, but I do. So maybe I could do like a give to get or quid pro quo. Yeah. Get me into C, I'll get you an intro into A.
And then another thing is, besides asking your A players that you're dealing with about internals, why not ask them if they know, as long as it's not a competitor of their company, do they know anybody in these companies, any of your 15 companies that they know personally? They may know on a professional networking, or they may know personally because they live in the same neighborhood or the kids play. Because again, there's nothing better than having a warm intro than a cold. Okay. So you want to do that. And people never ask about others. Hey, do you know somebody in these organizations that could, hey, you know what? In my group, my pickleball group, this guy works there. Great.
Yeah. The other thing that I could do, this is all great. The other thing I can do is I can probably figure out ways to grow my existing deals. So especially already have deals on the table, if I can put together a TCO or ROI in the proposal, then I can actually grow the deal because I can add some of these add-on services. But if I'm painting the picture where even with the add-on services, if the deal is 1 million, but we're actually going to be saving you 4 million over the next 3 years, then that 1 million, even though that includes add-ons, it's still going to be a bargain. It's going to be a drop in the bucket as long as I can paint that TCO in the proposal. But if I don't show the TCO or the ROI, then they're just going to look at the deal as being too expensive, and the deal is probably going to shrink. So maybe I could grow some existing deals that way.
Yeah, and that's where that M in metrics comes in. And again, if you can make it easy for them to buy, and the main reason, and they see it, and it makes sense, and they can share that information and that message to their colleagues who are also part of the buying process, the more successful you'll be.
Well, I think this is great. I think I feel a lot better about this now. We've talked about, so my plan was to be 110%, and I was like, I have no idea how to get there. You've given me kind of a roadmap to say, okay, in order to hit the 110%, first of all, I need 128 million of pipeline. So that's my bogey. That's where I need to be in order to get to 110%. Then you've given me ways to get 128 million of pipeline. So we've talked about A, B, and C accounts. We've talked about growing my influence in the A accounts, and we've talked about strategies to get into B and C accounts. If I do that stuff, and I need you to hold me accountable, but if I do that stuff, I'm pretty confident I can build 128 million of pipeline. I think that's very doable given the account base that I have. Then you've given me this framework with the MEDDICC on how to then take those deals and make sure at minimum 25% of them close, hopefully more of those close by taking those deals through the MEDDICC framework, right? The metrics, the economic buyer, the 2Ds, the pain, the champion, all that stuff. So, okay, well, I feel a lot better about this. I think I could hit this, but I need accountability. The other thing is accountability. This sounds like a great plan, but I need to execute.
So the first thing I would ask you to do is put the number 128 in some place that you can see it every day, because that's, as you said, that's your beacon. That's what you're shooting for.
So you're talking about like a Post-it note or something like that?
Something big that won't, Post-it notes sometimes they yeah, I don't know about you, they only stick up for a very short time. Yeah, I need you to, so every day, someplace where you see it.
Okay.
When you're on the phone, when you're talking to customers, because it's going to be your driving force. Because what I want you to do, and I will hold you accountable, is that every day when you're doing things, you're asking yourself, how is this helping me get to that 128?
Right.
Is the activity I am doing now going to help me get there? If not, put it aside and start, because sometimes we would like to work on things that are very easy and tactical. And next thing you know, the day has gone by and you really haven't moved the needle and you've wasted a day.
Yeah.
So
like all hands meetings.
Some things you have to have, but that's what you want to do, is budget your time. And then the other thing I would tell you is to find out if you are, where you're the strongest. And what I mean by that is I am an individual who does really well in the morning. That's mine when I'm the sharpest. I am the not sharpest in the afternoon or really late at night. So when are you if you're a morning person, then do the activities that are difficult, challenging, not fun. Those are the activities that can help drive that pipeline. Do it when you're sharp. Don't do it when you are like at 2 p.m, right, when you don't have that high energy. Do the tactical stuff, the easy stuff then. Okay. So a lot of times people don't prioritize their day based on the energy level that they have. And each one of us is different. So ask yourself, am I a morning, afternoon, whatever, and then put the difficult things in there and organize your day. But if you keep looking at that 128, it's a reminder of, what am I doing right now that's going to help me get there? And if it's not, then how can I pivot and do something that can? Okay. I believe in it. You got this.
I got it. Well, thank you. It's all because of you. It's your coaching. So let me ask you this. When at the end of the year, so 9 months from now, when I get to 120%, where are we going to go for drinks?
Yes, you can pick a place. I'm there. Yes, I look forward to it. I look forward to celebrating your success, because it's not a hope, it's a win. I believe in you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, let's sync up in a month, and then I can update you on all the pipeline I've generated and all the deals I'm moving through the pipe.
Yep, you got this.
All right, guys, thanks for tuning into this role play with Bonnie. Hope you enjoyed it and found it helpful. We'll be back in about a week with part 2 of this role play, so please watch out for that episode. And don't forget, if you're ready to take your self-development to the next level, visit SelfActualize.ai to explore personalized coaching from world-class coaches like Petrich. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next week. Until then, keep growing and reaching for your potential.